Alright, Seth Joyner here again. If you hear it raining, there's nothing I can do about it. I make my videos in one cut. A friend of mine gave me some good feedback. Minner's Belt, it's a car builder here locally, so I'm going to tighten up my videos and make them a little bit shorter. Alright? Okay, so we're still messing around with this tail lamp install, but I'm going to go over a bunch of particular things about it. I'm going to go over exactly setting the lamp itself, to the wiring, to adjustments, and I also have a rear bumper seal that I'm going to be installing as well. It goes between the quarter panel and the bumper. Okay, and the reason I'm assuming is you know, they try to keep as much air back there in the back of a Porsche. You know, they're air cooled, so you want to try and keep the engine cool. Okay, so we have our tail lamp assembly. All right, now so it's ready for install. Got my bulbs in and whatnot. Now, some particulars about it that I want to make sure that you do at home. Okay, now this seal, when you install this thing, you need to make sure that you've heat gunned it in such a fashion that it's going to be able to roll back. All right, rolling back is critical because you kind of want to enlarge the gasket and have that nice clean line, that nice clean look. Okay. Now, another thing about this is I still have some hot glue residue on there. Now, I'm going to clean that off after the install. And if you're wondering exactly how I do that, I'd be doing it with an old dental pick, okay, the dull end of this thing. Alright, and the reason for that is just because I don't want to mar the weather stripping, and I have to be extremely careful. When I say careful, you should literally have your face 3 inches from this thing when you go to do it, and you should be sweating bullets like you're a surgeon. Alright, you make a mistake, you just ruin the whole thing. Okay. So, some general knowledge here. This is our brake light, our reverse light, and our turn signal. Okay. Now, so you know what the poles are. We have a double pole on brake. We have a single ground on the body of the tail lamp assembly. We have our single pole reverse, and then we have our single pole turn signal. Alright, so we have a total of 5 wires on this thing. Alright, so before I get any further into the wiring, I want to talk about the actual installation of the tail lamp and some adjustments. Because Porsche is just so precise, the only adjustments that you even have are here and here. The amount of adjustment for the sleeve will lock, you have a few millimeters, okay? Which is great for me. I only needed a few millimeters, okay? It's a relatively original car, so I didn't have too many issues there. But I did have to adjust them. I adjust them via screwdriver from the bottom, tapping it with a hammer, get it in place, okay? Now, let me go ahead and throw you up a sample of the screws that we're using for this. Pretty small, extremely fine, all right? It's Porsche. So, with that being said, when you go to install this lamp, okay, you want to take your time. And when I say take your time, I mean take your time, okay? So you're going to kind of get it into a general position like that. Now, before you do that, obviously you want to heat gun that seal to get it nice and hot to where you can begin to put some compression on it. You know, both hands, and you just kind of equally work it into place and keep working into place. Now, you may have to take the lens back out and heat it up and attempt to fit it, you know, a dozen times, okay? I've probably got a few in mind just in general trying to fit it, okay? So, now that we have the lamp out, and like I said, when you go to put those screws in, if they don't take, immediately stop what you're doing. You're messing up, all right? So, let's go through our wires, all right? We've got 5 wires back here. All right, now we actually have 6 because on Porsche ground is brown, you know, kind of an earth tone. So that's actually a double wire. All right, and what I've done for you people at home is I've actually made a cheat sheet for everybody. You can see it right there. That is the color code in the wiring diagram. This may be the only wiring diagram you find is right here on my page, okay? It took me quite a while to figure all of this out. Now, if you have a problem like I had, the reason I have this diagram is because the individuals that had worked on this car before I got it, you know, just previous work, they didn't care. They would just spray right over wires. Well, that kind of sucks because you don't really exactly know what those wires are. Alright, so what I did to be able to reveal underneath the paint the wires is I just used common auto body lacquer thinner. The reason that I use the lacquer thinner is because it dries really quickly. A lot of guys will say, oh, use reducer. I think you have more of an opportunity to discolor the wires to where they're indistinguishable from each other. So I didn't go that route. I went this route, all right? So the wiring on the actual lamp, all right, is going to, starting from left going right. The first wire that we're going to have is the gray and the red wire, okay? That goes to the double terminal bulb on the brake lamp, all right? So that goes on the left side. Now, the next one that we're going to use is this black and yellow wire, okay? That goes to the opposite side terminal of that brake lamp bulb, all right? Now, like I said, these double wire brown, that is your ground. That goes to the back of the body of the lamp, all right? Now, the next one is this gray and brown, okay? Now, that's reverse, all right? Now, we've got black and green in our last one, and that's our tail lamp, okay? So, other notable things about this is this rear bumper seal. The way that you basically would normally install this is two people on their back, being extremely careful, possibly a third person watching. I've seen that a lot of times, to make sure that they don't chip the paint. I work by myself. I don't have those options. A lot of people at home don't have those options. So what I'm going to do is just slightly relax the bumper and allow it to hang. Now the bumper's already been painted, so I have to be extremely careful. You have two bolts on the inside of the rail on both sides that hold the bumper, and then you have a third on each side. I've already loosened this one, and these two I'm going to loosen so that the bumper will just slightly hang down, okay? With that being said, we're going to talk about this rear bumper, the body seal, okay? The installation method of it is once this thing's hanging, you're going to want to test fit. I test fit everything. I may test fit one component 100 times. Whatever it takes until it looks exactly perfect, and that you know that when you go to make your installation and you execute it, that you got it perfect, right? So this, when I go to install it, I'm going to use a heat gun quite a few times to make sure that I get that conformity, and it goes right around that contour and it looks nice, okay? Now, here's another trick that people that aren't in auto body don't know. Whenever you're using this double-sided tape on weather stripping, or let's say you're putting a wing on your car, anything like that, break out that heat gun and get it super hot, okay? It really is going to adhere hardcore and never come off, and you will be the only one that knows how to use double-sided tape amongst your friends, all right? I'm going to pause the video. Oh, one last thing, so you know, there is a channel on this seal, okay? There's a metal 1/4-inch lip that goes from the body all the way around up under the tail lamp. It's critical that you get that lip right up in there into that channel, okay? So I'm going to pause the film, and I'm going to talk about just a couple other random things that I'm going to make a video about, but I just don't have time right now. It's some other installation on some of the other weather stripping on the car that was kind of a real pain in the butt, and I just want to make sure that, you know, people watching this, they don't get too frustrated with this classic Porsche, because, you know, you're handcrafting the car as well. You know, these cars, you know, they're 40, 50 years old. Over time, they get dents, dings, bondo, rust, you name it. Chassis relaxation, all that stuff. The chassis, the unibody begins to sag. You know, so there's extra adjustments and things that you're going to have to know when you're trying to build a car like this. All right, so let me go ahead and pause the video, and I'm going to take a look at this quarter glass and do a little walkthrough, and I'm going to talk about another piece of trim. All right, hold on. Alright, stage 2, guys. I've come over here to the rear quarter glass window on this Porsche. The reason that I'm over here and I want to talk about it is because this seal right here, you got to really want this. If you don't have a leaking problem and really bad dry rot that's extremely noticeable, now my seal was shot. I know it was leaking in the car. I had to change it. Did I want to change it? Not really, all right? And after doing it, I really didn't want to change it, okay? So let's talk about this seal. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. You're going to have to trim these to fit. If you can see that one, it's not exactly perfectly round, okay? And the fit and finish on my cars, it's not something I'm going to give back to somebody. Okay, now this weather stripping, it's got a bead and a channel that it has to run in. The channel's about 1 millimeter, okay? Now on the back side, there's also another lip, okay? And this weather stripping seal has to go into that lip, but first it has to roll the bead up under the lip on the chrome, okay? So to give you a little bit better idea, we're going to move over here to a brand new piece, okay? This is for the other side. All right, now this is crazy, guys. This lip right here that my thumb is on, that lip has to go up under the chrome, okay? Then that channel, that's right, there's a second channel up in there, and it has to be knocked into place, okay? Not pushed. Your hands are not that strong, all right? So what I used was a rubber or a plastic PDR mallet, it's a small one, and a dental tool, okay? That's the only option, guys. You know, if you want to get that thing to sit in there all crisp and clean like mine and make it look tight and not have a bunch of crazy gaps and have it sticking and bulging out, you're going to be using a heat gun, you're going to be using that hammer and that dental pick, and you're going to go ahead and clean your slate for the day, because that's going to be about 8 hours total to do that correctly. It may take longer if you do not get it right. My suggestion, the easiest way to start this is to start at the end, okay? And make sure that you kind of lay this thing out a bunch of times and kind of get it stretched over the frame just in general before you begin to knock it in place. Now, I was not using the face of the hammer, okay? I actually ended up having to hold it in this fashion, okay? And knock it in with the back wooden part of the handle, all right? So that may sound crazy, but that is how it's installed. The other thing too is this particular motion that you have to do this, it's super hard to do. You have to knock it down on the back channel, and then simultaneously you're coming, push forward and drive it up under the chrome, okay? And like I said, if you start this wrong, you're just start over and be extremely careful while you're doing it. All right, our next piece that was a real pain in the butt was this front window weather stripping, okay? Of course, this prevents water from coming through the window channel, all right? Now, this particular piece right here, I improvised that. I used an old seal, I heat gunned it in place. So I'm going to use reducer to bring the color back on it, okay? The reason that I did that was not because this guy couldn't get the seal, it was because I needed a slightly thicker seal, all right? And the reason is I had some pitting down here in the chrome that I just couldn't get rid of, and it's just not going to fit with this car. So I went ahead and used a slightly extended steel, a seal, and it fits really nice and it looks good, okay? So that's pretty much what's going to be the major issues when you go to do this. I'm going to make another video about actually how to install the weather stripping in the door jamb of the car to seal the cabin. Now that right there, I can promise you, will be 7 to 10 hours, all right? Because it's going to end up having to be hot glued. The channel's going to have to be dug out for that to fit. But when I'm done with it, it's going to fit watertight, all right? So I thank you guys for watching, and just look forward to some more videos, and I'll explain some more about how to build these classic Porsches. Thank you.